Hello lads and lasses, welcome to Malpha Theta's SAT tutorials. In this video, I'll be going over Domain 2, which is Advanced Math. You can type in the link at the top of the screen for the slides, but I'll also leave it in the description. Real quick, there are also QR codes to different resources you can use. Of course, the questions and answer key are on the left. There's also a link to the College Board Desmos, which is the specific version you can use on the SAT, and have this pulled up on the right here. And there's also some notes that I typed up. Let's go ahead and get started. These are the topics that we'll be going over. If you're in person, this is how the slides would work. I would go through certain questions, and any marked with a cow would be ones you can try out yourself. Since this is online, I'll obviously be going through every single question. Feel free to follow along or try some out on your own. There's also this form that you would fill out, but once again, I will be going through all of them anyways, so you don't need to fill this out. Here we go with our first topic and question. They give us this function, p of x, and ask us for the minimum value. First up, you should know that f of x is pretty much the same thing as y. And same thing here, p of x is going to function the same as y. So when we go ahead and type this in Desmos, you can just replace p of x with y. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I went ahead and typed in our function, and of course this is a parabola, because I mean x squared. Here they ask us for the minimum value, and whenever they ask you for a minimum value, you just need to find the y coordinate of the vertex, because that's going to be the smallest number. Right here, you'll see that it's going to be negative 57, so that means our answer will be negative 57. Slide number 7, once again they give us a function and ask us for the minimum value. Instead of putting g of x, we can replace that with y, so let's go ahead and type that in Desmos. Alright, minimum value, that just means the y value of the vertex, so that's going to be 55, so that means our answer is 55. Slide number 8, here they give us a table of values, and based on our answer choices, they want us to write an equation for it. The first thing you want to notice is that it's an exponential relationship. So that means we need to write an exponential equation. Luckily, we can easily do that with Desmos. And of course, I wrote it down in the notes on how you want to do it. The first thing you want to do is insert a table. So click this plus sign right here and add a table. Now you just want to enter in your points, and they also give that for you. So let's go ahead and just type these all in. Alright, I went ahead and typed in all of our points. Now all we need to do is use the exponential regression equation. Now I also give you it right here. It's y1 to the ab to the power of x1. Now if you don't want to memorize that, you don't need to at all, because Desmos added this little function right here. If you see there's a little line with dots around it, it says add regression. We want to go ahead and do that. Now we know this is an exponential function, so we're not using linear regression. You're just going to click the drop down and we're going to choose exponential. And there we go, they give us our equation. Now we just need to match it up. So first up, we know that the first number is like 1, 2, 3, so it can't be A or B. And the second one is 1.12, so that means our answer will be D. Slide number 9. Once again, they give us a table of values and want us to write an equation for it. We're going to use exponential regression, so let's go ahead and add our table and then type in all of our points. Alright, I went ahead and typed in all our points, and now we just need to add in our regression equation. So we're going to go to the top left of the box, add regression, and of course exponential function, so let's choose exponential regression. And we get our equation is 1 times 0.04 to the power of x. They don't give us decimals in any of our answer choices, so we can just go ahead and, I guess you could do this, but I kind of realized that, typing 0.04 isn't that bad either. And then you can click the fraction button right here, and you see it's 1 over 25. So that means our answer will be, it's not negative and it's not 25, so it's D. Slide number 10. Here they give us this equation and they ask us for the best interpretation of the number 4000 in this context. Now if we go ahead and look at the notes, you'll see that I actually give you what each number would represent in an exponential function. So this very first number is going to be the initial or starting value. So that's what 4000 is going to be, the initial value. Now normally I would tell you Then you want to find out what x represents and what y represents. But if we look at our answer choices, I mean, there's only one with the word initial in it. It's not a percent decrease, not percent decrease, and it's not 7 years after. It's in that first year. So that means our answer would be A. Slide number 11. They give us another function and they ask us for the best interpretation of the number 5640, which happens to be the very first number in the function. Of course, you should remember, just like in the last question, the first number is the initial or starting value. So that means 5630 would be the initial value. If we quickly scan through our answer choices, we know it's not the amount of increase or the percent increase, so it can't be A or B. And it's not going to be T years after 2010, it's going to be in that first year, not a certain amount of years after, which means our only answer would be D. Now we're moving on into our next topic. Let's get started with slide number 13. Here they give us this equation and they ask us to express W in terms of V and X. Now whenever they ask you to express a letter in terms of something else, they're basically asking you to get this letter by itself. And you can tell that because if you look at our answer choices, all of them start with W equals. Alright, so there is a pretty roundabout way you can put this into Desmos and solve for it, but honestly the fastest way is just going to be doing it by hand. Gosh, how unfortunate. But of course this would be the fastest way, and we should all know how to do this if we passed Algebra 1. In case you forgot though, I did remind you how to isolate variables right here. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is get rid of this denominator right here. So we're going to multiply both sides by the denominator. So multiply both sides by 150x. And you would get 150x times v is equal to negative w. And then we want to get rid of that negative sign, so we're going to multiply the entire thing by negative 1. And we would get that negative 150x times v is equal to positive w. And if we look at our answer choices, that means our answer will be, well, there's not a fraction, there's no addition, so our answer is A. Why did I do that? It's literally the exact same thing. Honestly, what am I doing? Slide number 14. Here they give us an equation, and once again, they want us to get n in terms of m and p. So basically, get n by itself. And of course, all the answer choices start with n equals. Let's just go ahead and solve this the good old algebra way. So the first thing we gotta do is divide the entire thing by 5 so we can get those two out of the parentheses. So we get 7m divided by 5 is equal to n plus p. Then we need to subtract p from both sides to get n by itself, and we get that n is equal to 7m divided by p minus 5. Wait, okay, what did I just say? Okay, anyways, our answer will be B. Slide number 15. Here they give us this equation of a parabola, or a quadratic equation, and they ask us how many solutions does it have. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the notes, and you see right here, solutions, it's how many times the two lines intersect. So here, we technically do have two lines, it would be our parabola on one side, and then just y equals 0 on the right, which is the same as the x-axis. So let's go ahead and just plug this in. Of course, I like plugging in everything on the left side into one equation, or one line, and then everything on the right side into its own line. And you see right here, there are 2 points where the two lines intersect, the purple and black one, so that means there's 2 solutions. Real quick, if you were to put them in the same line, you would still get 2 lines, which would mean there's 2 solutions. But once again, I just like being able to actually see the whole thing. The answer is A. Slide number 16. Here they give us another quadratic equation and ask us for one of the solutions. Last time we were trying to find a number of solutions. Here they're asking us to find the actual x value of that point. First up, they use z in the equation, but of course we can just substitute this with x. And I like plugging in everything on the left into its own line and everything on the right into its own line as well. That's everything on the left side in its own line, and then y equals 0 on its separate line. Now once again, solutions are when the two lines intersect the points of intersection, and they're going to be the x values. So here our answer could be either positive 2 or negative 12. Both of these would be valid answers. Now we're moving on into our last topic. Let's get started with slide number 18. Here they give us an expression, because there's no equal sign, so it can't be an equation. Get it? Okay, anyways. And they're asking us for which of the following are equivalent. Let's take a quick look at the notes. Equivalent expressions. What we can do is type the equation they give us into Desmos. Wait, this should be expression. Get it? Because there's no equal sign. Alright, let's go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, I went ahead and typed in the expression they gave us. And now we need to type the expressions in the answer choices into Desmos. And then we want to compare the two graphs. If the two graphs look the exact same, that means they're equivalent. Let's start off with answer choice A. I'm gonna go ahead and type this in. Alright, I went ahead and typed it in, and let's compare our graphs. What I like to do is I like clicking between the two of them. Here's a black one, and then here's a red one. And they happen to be on top of each other. That means they're equal because the graphs are the same. So they're equivalent. Okay, I'm saying the same thing over and over, but the answer is A. Real quick, just to show you what an incorrect or non-equivalent graph would look like, I'm gonna go ahead and just type in C here. And you would see, wait, C? Oh my goodness, I'm so funny. You would see that these two graphs are clearly different. So that means they would not be equivalent. Slide number 19. Once again, we're given an expression and we want to find out if they're equivalent to one of the answer choices. Guys, this one is so much easier. I mean, you can just do the math. 2x minus x, that's just 1x. And then 3 minus negative 7, that would be plus 7. So that would be 3 plus 7, which is 10. So that means our answer would just be C. But if you want to see what it would look like in Desmos, oh my goodness, I just keep cracking myself up. Wait, crack? Okay, anyways, let's just type these two into Desmos, the one we're given, as well as our answer choice. And if we click between our two lines, you would see that they overlap. Wait, see? And that means our answer would be equivalent and correct. Now, these are some extra questions that are included at the end, in case we had extra time at tutorials. Since this is online, I'll be going through them as well. Let's get started with slide number 21. They give us this function and want us to find the value of f of 21, or basically, what's the y value when x is equal to 21. Now, there's two ways we can do it. The first way, what you want to do is just copy the equation exactly as you see. Normally, I like just replacing f of x with y, but since they ask you for f of 21, you can go ahead and just keep it as f of x is equal to the equation they give us, because when you type in another line, f of 21, it actually gives you the answer. None of our answer choices are in decimal form, so you can just click this fraction button to the side here, and you would get that our answer would be 4 over 21. So that means our answer would be C. But if you want to see the graph, you could just type in x is equal to 21 and then go to that point, which is right here. And you would go to this button, export point. And unfortunately, if you were to just get that y value by itself and click the fraction button, it wouldn't actually get you the simplified fraction. So what you would have to do is just type in all of the answer choices until you get a fraction that matches. So of course, the faster way would just be typing in f of x and then f of 21. Slide number 22. They give us a graph and want us to match it to one of the equations. This one's going to be pretty straightforward. You just have to type in all of the equations until you get a graph that matches. Let's go ahead and start off with A. Alright, here's answer choice A, and if we zoom out, what the heck is happening right here? Alright, well, you can tell, but this one line goes all the way up. But if we look at our graph, nothing should go past 20. So A is probably not going to be our answer if it's going up to 670. Alright, here's answer choice B. And if we look at the shape, it looks pretty good. I mean, it goes up and then down and then back up. And it stops at around 20 and then goes back down. So yes, this is probably going to be our answer. Real quick though, if we just look at this graph, I mean, it doesn't look the same as the one they show us in the picture, right? But there is a way that you can fix this. What you want to do is go to this right here, this little wrench icon. It says graph settings. And then we can change the interval of the x and y axes. So if we look at our graph, we can tell it goes from -8 to +8. And then for the y-axis, it goes from -100 to +100. And now if we look at that, that looks pretty darn good. So yes, B will be our answer. Slide number 23, they give us an equation and ask us for the product of the solutions. If you remember anything about algebra, you can just set each of these little parentheses equal to 0 and get your solutions. So in the first one, that would be 4, and then -2, and then +1. If you multiplied all of this together, because that's what product is, multiplying, you would get -8. So our answer would be -8. But of course, if you don't remember how that notation works, just put it in decimals, yeah? Alright. I'm not going to type in y equals 0 or anything, because that's just the x-axis. It's going to be -2, that's what we got. +1, that's what we got. And +4, that's all what we got. Now we just need to multiply these together. And once again, 4 times 1 times -2 is -8, so that means our answer will be D. Slide number 24, they give us an equation and ask us for the negative solution. Let's just go ahead and plug this into decimals. Everything on the left side into its own line, and everything on the right side into its own line. There's everything on the left, and whenever you have a number, you need to put y equals in front of it. And here are our two lines. Remember, your solutions are where the two lines intersect. It's gonna be the x value at that point, and they want the -1. So that means our answer will be -3. Slide number 25. They give us an expression and want us to find an equivalent one. Let's go ahead and plug in the one they gave us into decimals. Alright, real quick. You'll notice that it's gonna be the quartic root, or the fourth root of that little quadratic right there. And the way you want to type that is by typing NTH and then root, and then you can type in 4 in that spot and the rest of your expression here. Now if you don't want to remember that, you can just click on the function button right here, scroll down, and then right here there's this little root button right here that allows you to type in the 4 and everything else. Alright, so there's the expression that they gave us. I'm feeling a little lazy today, guys. Let me just go ahead and tell you that the answer is D, and I'm gonna just plug it here into decimals so you can see that this would in fact be the exact same. Now the important thing to notice here is that I guess it's not the exact same, because we're missing the entire left side of the function right here. But it does say where x is greater than 0. So we should only be looking at the positive side. And yeah, these two would then be the exact same. So our answer will be D. Slide number 26. They give us an expression and they want us to find which of the answer choices are equivalent to it. Let's go ahead and type in the one they give us into decimals. Now you could type out the NTH and then root, but you could also just have a little shortcut, CBRT, for that little cube root, and then type in the rest of that expression. And you notice here there's going to be a little problem. They say, try adding an equal signs to turn this into an equation. Alright, sure, why not? Let's say this is equal to 2. And you get this graph. Don't worry guys, as long as you put equals to after each of these answer choices, it should still work completely fine. The equivalent expressions should still have the exact same graph as this one we have right here. Once again, it's like 2 AM and I'm a little lazy, so I'm gonna just tell you the answer is B. And we can go ahead and just type this in. And would you look at that, these two are the exact same. So that means our answer will be B. Alright, that concludes all the questions I have for Mu Alpha Theta's tutorials on Domain 2, Advanced Math. If you would like to get more practice on harder questions, please check out my SAT doc. Let me show you real quick how it works. Of course, you want to click on Math, and then Domain 2, Advanced Math. And just like the questions and the slides, it's broken up by the topic, and it has the questions, the answer key, and a walkthrough video on all of the questions. That's gonna be it. Good luck studying, and I'll see y'all. Min out.